Hey folks, Justin from Tackle Tactics out here on a bit of a whiteout this morning. We've just off the back of our AFTA Fishing Tackle Trade Show 2024. Awesome to catch up with a stack of you guys there, and you probably saw tons of new gear from us. If not, make sure you check out that new product showcase of ours on Tackle Tactics TV on YouTube. Today, we have one of those new products to play with, so I'm stoked to have the new drop kickers. Today we're going to be fishing it in a 2.75 and also a 3.5 inch. We'll talk a bit about the plastic design, rigging this plastic, and some retrieves to get you hooked up. Fish on. Whiteout. Great for days. Southeasterly. Beautiful. I'm not actually sure what time the low tide is. I should have a look at that. It's quite a large low, it's a 0.59. That little current line looks pretty good, I reckon. We'll sit our butts in that and work back up that current line to the bank. All right, first up this morning, we've got a dropping tide for a couple of hours. So I've just picked an edge here where I can see a current line forming. So there's a whole big flat there, the water's draining off this flat, and hopefully there's a fish or two sitting on this edge here. So we're basically just going to get right up on that edge, throw our cast up on there and work it back over the edge, and hopefully the fish are holding there, waiting in ambush to eat our little 2.75 inch drop kickers. Hollywood drag. Better put a bit on it so I don't get too much grief. Yep, right on that bait. Crazy. We haven't seen a lot of bait this morning, but wherever we've seen bait in these first little while, we've had an eat. So hopefully he's got a few mates with him up in there, this guy. That's why he was stirring the bait up. Looks like a little tailor. So those tailor are loving the drop kickers. Not a big fish or anything, but they definitely fight well. Nice, aggressive, chunky tailor. And he has scoffed that drop kickers, so luckily we are 10 times tough ZMan ElaZtech. So there you go, that little drop kickers in midnight oil colour, solid little tailor, little chunk. He was up there eating that bait. We're keeping an eye out for that bait, spotting the bait and spotting the fish, and you can see that guy there. It's a beautiful little bait fish imitation. So it's a great profile for imitating small white bait, pillies, whiting, all those little bait fish, little mullet and things that the fish feed on. So, oh, he's still kicking. I'll send him back in there. See you, mate, he's away, and we'll get this guy back in the water. See if we can get a mix of species. I reckon this thing here is pretty versatile profile, that 2.75 inch bait fish. We've also got the larger 3.5 inch that will give a bit of a swim later over on a flathead edge and see if we can find a flatty. But let's see what else we can get to eat this 2.75 inch drop kickers. Be nice if there was a bunch of, not just bait, it'd be nice if there was a bunch of big brim up on there or something. Because it's awesome casting up onto there and they eat it in that secondary drop. Like there's like a little edge and then a drop. Yep. No, off. Oh yeah, drilled again. Drilled as it came over that edge, that's brilliant. Might just be a school of tailor sitting up on that edge there. Oh, that's a nice brim. Oh, there we go. Chunk of brim on the drop kickers. So the versatility of this plastic, beautiful little bite size profile. That little wedge tail is definitely a key to this plastic. So it gives it a little tight little shimmy like a bait fish trying to get away. That guy had a go at it, missed it, and then had another shot at it. So I'll pop that hook out of him. While there's a bit of bait activity going on up in there, we'll keep going, keep firing. See you, buddy. Good fun on that little drop kickers. Oh, eat it. Yep, there he is. So that's just fishing a shaking retrieve, just holding that rod tip up and shaking it to keep it nice and high in the water column, because there's not a lot of water up in here. A little flatty that time. So as I thought, this little drop kickers is appealing to a wide range of species. It's a beautiful little bait fish profile. He's not a big fish, he was lassoed around the fin. So he was punching above his weight, but he was fired up. So that was a high rod and a twitchy retrieve. just getting that little bait fish kicking. So he's on there. A little flatty, but where there's smoke there's fire. Hopefully they're a schooling fish, so hopefully he's got some big brothers in there, but and getting the bite, just keeping that rod tip up. So he was terrorizing the bait fish. Pretty sure that's what we'll be doing now. Straight back in there to eat a few more bait fish that look like this little drop kickers. All right, I can see nervous water, we call it. So ripples on the water and that there's bait pushing across into this little drain here. So chances are if there's bait in there, there's going to be something in there following it that wants to eat it. So just cast up over that first undulation and just bring it back over the edge, and hopefully we get the bite. Oh, there's a little tap. Yep. Just ate his way onto it as we came up over that edge. So we're pretty much just sitting in the shallows on this edge, watching the bait move across, making cast to where the bait is. And these fish, as this flat drains, all of these fish are working off this edge and they're following that bait off. So that's another nice little flatty. He'd be legal as well, that one. Be just legal. Nice little flatty. Just a handful. I'm going to throw him back in there. And we'll keep working. We've only got a little bit of run out tide this morning, so we really want to whack it on that run out tide, make the most of it before that water drains off too much. Whoa, come here, buddy, settle down. Go on, get out there, terrorise that bait fish. They use those channels like little roadways to travel around and also to hunt in. Ooh, trap the bait in there a little bit as well. Yep, there we go. So that's just coming up over that edge that time. So I'm just shaking that plastic, letting that tail do its work. It's got a really worm-like long tail on it as well. So it really frees that wedge-shaped tail up to do its little thing and vibrate. And when I do pause it on the bottom, that little worm-like tail looks super realistic, really wormy looking. Not too many fish out there that won't eat a little bait fish. That's a better fish. There you go, that's that 2.75 inch fishing super shallow here. So we're sitting in, what's that thing say? About 80 centimeters of water flicking up into almost no water. And it's a great little profile. There's a few seagulls working as well here, and that look like they're picking off tiny bait or jelly prawns. And this guy's a pretty fair representation of a jelly prawn or a little bait fish, that's for sure. There you go, he's tied that one up in knots, but 10 times Tough ElaZtech material, so we'll just get that guy straightened out again, get it out there and hopefully get another fish. So there you go, nice eating size if you're wanting to keep one for a feed. We're going to send him. See you, mate. Beautiful, we'll straighten this guy out, put it back in there. Have a look at these birds. Oh, bream, just as I've cast over here and now brim's over there slurping. Yep. I think we're about 3 and 3 casts now with the drop kickers. So am I happy with this placky? Yep, definitely. This is a little racing snake, so we'll swing him in, get that hook out and send him back in again. So birds are still here working, so that means the bait's still here, hopefully the fish are still here, so we'll just keep pinging that cast out there. Oh, he's away. So 3 from 3, 3 and 3 casts. A few flatties, I think we need a brimbo. Go up into this little deep drop off in between the banks here and see if we can find a bream. All right, a quick little change of color, I reckon, because there's a color in here that I really want to share with you guys. So we've added yabby color. So yabby, saltwater yabby, fish love saltwater yabbies. We pushed up on the bank here a little bit more. We're up onto a big sand flat. So I reckon they'll love a yabby. So the yabby color is in a few of our favorites. The 2.5 inch prawns, 2.5 inch SD grubs, 2.5 inch and 3 inch slim swims, but it's also in the new drop kickers and in both sizes. So we've got our 2.75 inch and also that 3.5 inch. Because we're up on the shallows here a bit more, I'm going to stick with the little guy, but we're just going to change it up. We've been fishing with Shiner and then Midnight Oil, which are a couple of my favorite colors, but I've got a feeling this new yabby color, you guys are going to love it and you're going to catch a ton of fish on it. So let's get the yabby on, see if we can get the yabby eaten. When I am fishing soft plastics or any other lure, I really like to add scent to the presentation as well. you've got that, you know, it looks real, we're making it swim and look real in the water, it feels real, and now we want to make it taste and smell real as well. So I'm fishing a yabby color. So Procure Super Gel Scent is available in a bunch of flavors. So I'm actually going to put some saltwater yabby nipper on here to match the plastic that I'm fishing. So there's a ton of different flavors, and it's loaded with powerful amino acids, bite stimulants, UV enhancements, all that scientific stuff, but it's also got real ground bait in there that fires the fish up as well. So we've scented it up, we've got it ready to go. Let's see how we go with this new yabby color. Sounds like brim sucking bait fish or jelly prawns or yabbies or whatever's coming off that flat. They're slurping it off the top. Come on, fish. Yep, on the edge there, right on the edge of the drop off. Ate the yabby. I'd almost call that my first cast because I cranked that other cast in pretty quick. What are you? Oh. Flatty doesn't mind a yabby. He's cranky, this guy. He's giving me all sorts of death rolls. That's another nice pan-sized fish. So I think that's going to be a fish slayer for you guys that love fishing your flats fishing and that sort of thing anywhere on the yabby bed edges and that sort of thing. For flathead, brim, tons of species love a yabby. It's probably one of the best estuary baits you can fish just in terms of wide appeal to different species. So our little yabby plastics are going to absolutely slay. So really nice pearly top, that orange belly, and a nice handful of flathead. See you, buddy. Okay folks, I thought we'd just stop and take a closer look at this deadly little plastic. 2.75 inch and 3.5 inch sizes in that ZMan drop kickers. So I've only fished it a couple of times. I've caught a stack of different species. I really love fishing them, loads of action. There's a lot of design features in this plastic that I think make it effective. So we've got a nice bulky head design there, and that head design holds a jig head really well. So there's plenty of meat there to get a jig head on this plastic. We've got a nice ribbed belly there for holding scent, so we can attract fish and trigger strikes, and also creating micro vibrations with that there. On the top section of the plastic, we've got cutaways near the hook, which I think help with the hookup rate when you're fishing that. And we've got rigging slots as well, top and bottom, to make it easier to get that jig head lined up nice and straight, or to weedless rig it as well. Tail section of this plastic, very, very worm-like tail design on that. It puts that tail down around when it's just bobbing along the bottom. That tail's around the hook point, fish comes in to strike it, and boom, fish on, they find the hook. And then on the end of that worm-like tail, we've got that little wedge-shaped tail piece on the end, and that little wedge-shaped tail gives it that really tight shimmy, which mimics a lot of that bait, small bait that you see in the fresh and in the salt. So there's a lot of design features in there that'll get us the bites, attract those fish, trigger strikes, whether you're fishing the fresh or whether you're fishing the salt like we are today, chasing a few flatties and brim. Yep, there he is. Oh, cranky. Up in the shallow water. I love shallow water fishing, that's for sure. I'm actually fishing fairly heavy jig head still, so I've got this rigged on a 1/4 ounce 1/0 in the TT Headlocks Finesse. Rigs beautifully on a 1 or a 1/0, so going to be great for you guys fishing brim tournaments and that sort of thing with that size 1 and 1/0 hook. That guy was all over it straight away, so not much work in catching that guy. He just pretty well ate it himself. But not a big brim, but loving that yabby profile. Just twitching and hopping it over the edge, and he absolutely drilled it. So pop that out of there and go back in there again, I think. See if he's got a bigger mate in there. We haven't found the big brim this morning, but plenty of brim loving that little drop kickers. So looks brilliant in the water, that tail vibration, that tail working. I'm just punching a big long cast. So I've got a 1/4 1/0 on there, like I was saying, not because of the depth, but because of the distance that I want to get. I want to stay back off that edge there, stay out of the shallows, but I want to really punch a long cast up in there to where the fish are feeding. Yep, there we go. He was on the back side of that little drop off there, so sitting in that little well, you could probably call it, that little drainway in between the sand flats. He's getting cranky. Nice little run there. Got the 2000 Inspira, so the new Inspira, giving it a run. I love the sound of that drag. It's a beautiful, smooth reel. Flight drive, 9 bearing, stainless steel and carbon drag, torsion control armour. How's that? A brim, next cast a flatty. Pretty stoked with that one. That's the one we've been looking for. So that's a beautiful flathead on that yabby colour in the 2.75 inch. So we're fishing a nice sandy flat, yabby sort of flat. Good fun on that 1 to 3 kilo gear in no water. They run sideways, give you plenty of stick. All right, in terms of jig head selection for these drop kickers in the 2.75 and 3.5, I've gone for the TT in the Headlocks Finesse. So the Finesse is a Gamakatsu hook, so it's a nice fine wire hook, which is perfect for brim, flathead, bass, those sorts of species where you want a nice, fine, black nickel chemically sharpened hook, very sticky hook point for pinning those fish, even if they just have a swipe at it. So especially brim and those sorts of things. So in terms of jig head weight, I'm fishing a 1/4 ounce today, and that's primarily for distance and also for not spooking fish. So we're fishing very shallow water, so I don't need the weight for the depth, I need the weight for a big long cast, and then I'm fishing very fast and aggressively. I'm looking for actively feeding fish. So if your fish are a bit more shut down, much more finicky, you might want to drop down to a 1/12 of an ounce, 1/8, 1/6. But for me, I love a 1/4 for covering water and finding those active fish. I've got the 2.75 inch here on a 1.0, and it fits beautifully on a 1.0. So you could rig that on a size 2, 1, 1.0, even sneak a 2.0 in there if you're chasing bass or whatever and looking for a really small profile. But that 1.0 is beautiful, and then I've gone for a 1/4 2.0 in that Headlocks Finesse TT in that guy there in the 3.5 inch. So that's a 2.0, you could easily fit a 3.0 in there, or you could drop it back and fish a 1.0 if you wanted to. But for me, I'm fishing a 1.0 in the smaller plastic, and I'm fishing a 2.0 in the larger plastic. And that's caught me brim, flathead, tailor, a bunch of different species have eaten those plastics on that size of head. So that's a good option for you. There's also the option of changing it up from that light wire hook to a Headlocks HD if you want a heavy wire hook where you want that bait fishy sort of profile, but you want that really heavy duty hook for stopping big fish, especially if you're fishing structure or you're fishing for jig head destroying species like snapper. You can fish up to that HD hook. So there you go, 1.0, 2.0, a great starting point for those two plastics. Yep. Yeah. That was a great eat. Yeah, that's a nice one. He's going to bite me off for sure. Oh, don't do that, buddy. Oh, settle down. Oh, in the net, come on. There you go. That's a beautiful flathead. I think this is going to be an absolute winner of a plastic for you guys that are fishing the river and estuary. It's also going to be a bass and golden perch slayer, I reckon, as well. So just a really good bait fish profile, but it's got all those different features on there that we've talked about that makes it a deadly little fish catcher. So I love my ZMan 2.5 inch slim swims, but I reckon this guy's gonna be a rival for it, chasing fish in the river and estuary. That's a beautiful flatty to finish with, up into the 50s. I'm gonna put that one back in for you guys as well. All the best with the fishing, and we'll see you out there on the water.